Macclesfield at Liz West's home studio to talk about her latest installation, Double Fizz, which is in the centre of Manchester. And Liz is going to tell us all about this wonderful installation and how it came to be and the inspiration behind it. So thanks very much for having us, Liz. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure.
So, first question, how did the opportunity for Double Fizz as an installation come about?
I was approached by an art consultant about 2 years ago who was putting several artists forward to Relentless, who were the developers for St Michael's. And I remember meeting her in a coffee shop in Macclesfield. She came from Manchester, where she's based, and we had a discussion about key things like what would it cost and how long would it take, and this is the site. And she described to me a building site at the time, and it was in the old police station in central Manchester, and all the cells of the old police station were going to be gotten rid of, and there was going to be a 30-metre corridor that ran from the old frontage of the police station to the new build.
Okay.
And they wanted an artwork in it. So that was my task.
Okay, amazing. What was the inspiration for the piece? I know it's called Double Fizz, so where did the name come from? And then,
The name always comes after.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever thought of a title and then tried to form a work around it. So the work comes first, and for this one, me and the art consultant really worked together collaboratively to think about what would suit that corridor. And I think one of the other artists who were on the table was literally going to put framed artworks down the corridor.
Right.
And I think that the art consultant thought it would be more interesting to just have it as one installation. That would be more challenging for people going into a building development rather than something that people expected.
Okay.
So she had seen a body of work of mine where I'd created this graphic print. I'd made it in the Clatterbridge Cancer Centre in Liverpool and also on the Tide in Greenwich in London, where I'd made this kind of undulating, sharp, very precise, colourful graphic that covered the walls or the glass balustrades but completely immersed the space. And before it had been on glass panels, so when the sun shone through it, it had acted like a sundial. That was in Greenwich.
Yes. I remember that one. It's very cool.
It was a lovely one, and it was a temporary one. Or there's the permanent one in Liverpool where it was printed as a wallpaper, so completely flat. That was a challenge. Flat work for me. But it was that body of work that she thought would really work, and I suggested it go on mirrors. So this super clear colour would then reflect and bounce around the space, creating this immersive environment.
Okay, amazing. And with that, what kind of feeling or emotion, I guess, did you hope would inspire in visitors as they walk through this corridor with this kind of reflective?
There was many conversations about this, because we didn't want to overwhelm people completely and make people go, oh no, and neither did we want it to read as kind of disco.
Okay.
However, as people who know, if you know, I have very strong links to music and my interest in pop culture. That runs through the work always.
Yeah. What
is it like to be in a music video? What is it like to be one of the MTV generation? What is it like to grow up in the 90s?
Yeah.
That's all in there. That's the reason why the colours are very vibrant and luminous. But the work had to be a balance. It is in a public space, in a public building, and people are going to be walking through it all the time. So I wanted to create intrigue and livability. Yeah. The colour palette was tweaked to be warmer tones. Okay. And when you see the first version, which had more greens and blues and purples in it, there's a real difference between the version that you see now, which is more lime greens, yellows, oranges, reds, pinks. Yeah. So it had to be inviting, warm, feminine, elegant, joyful, and people you want to be in that space rather than be repelled by it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because although it still has that kind of, your signature vibrant colours to it, it is still relatively subtle in a way. Like, it's not too in your face as you walk through it. It's quite, as you say, quite delicate. So is that quite a difficult balance to achieve?
That is me and my fabricator sat at a computer for days on end. Yeah. And we created about 50 no more than that, 60, 70 linear meters of this pattern on Illustrator.
Yeah.
And we're working on triple screens, and we're blowing it up to life size on one, and then we can see it as a mass on the other. And then in the middle computer we are zooming in and out, deleting shards. Well, first of all, if I rewind completely, what me and Simon are doing is we are creating a computer program, writing a code that spits out shards of colour.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think we instruct 4 different lengths, always the same width at the base, in a selection of pre-selected colours that I've done. I think about 60 colours.
All right. Okay.
And so it spits out this however many meters we want, and then we go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like quite a fun process. Quite
I enjoy
laborious,
it.
quite time-consuming.
But it's satisfying.
Yeah. Okay. So is that a relatively typical process for you? Like, do you have a kind of a standard procedure when you're creating your works of art?
I think with that body of work, that is the typical procedure, because it's a pattern that is computer generated, but then is finely tuned by the human eye.
Yeah. And
sometimes I will sit next to Simon, and he will just be the kind of, I don't want to call him a labourer, but like he does the physical thing, and I'm going, move that one to the left 5 inches, move that up, change that colour, But that is a very untypical way that I would usually work, where I'm making drawings in this space, sometimes on graph paper, but typically with kind of coloured pens, kind of architectural drawings. And then I'm scanning them in, adding them to proposal documents, submitting them, sometimes having conversations with fabricators, producers, curators, architects, engineers. Is this possible? What I've done on this piece of paper, can that stand up? Will it withstand wind or snow if it's outside, or if it's indoors? It's a bit kinder.
Okay. And something that is quite sort of prominent in your work is the use of vibrant colours that we've talked about. So I wondered if you could kind of tell us a little bit more about this, your relationship with and fascination with colour in your work. Like, where does this come from, and what is it about these sort of bright colours that you find so appealing to work with?
Well, I mean, I grew up in the north of England, which is grey, gritty. I grew up in Barnsley. I went to Glasgow School of Art for 3 years, and now then I moved to Manchester. So I've always been in the north of England, or north of the UK.
Yeah.
Which is strange for someone who has seasonal affective disorder, who needs light, who needs vitamin D. So I would say my work is kind of self-therapy for my own well-being.
Yeah.
So that's one point. The use of colours is definitely that manufactured colour palette from the 90s. I'm definitely borrowing from that decade. I love kind of ready-made colour. And we've had this conversation many times before in talks that I've done in the light world, but I really struggle with LEDs. I like things that are ready-made and set, so I like fluorescent lights because they come in set lengths, set widths, you're done.
Yeah.
And it's the same with products of pre-manufactured colour. I wouldn't go to the manufacturer and say, oh, can you make me this celestial green, please?
Yeah.
I'll just take their colour palette, and if I'm dissatisfied with that, I'll start layering them to make new colours. So therefore that pushes me a bit harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, my colour palette it's industrial, but also my use of colour is completely instinctive.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. And with Double Fizz specifically, I was reading up on the installation a bit before we came here, and it was described as you hope that it would symbolise a physical and metaphorical meeting point of people, colours and space.
So why?
How does it do that?
Yes. The shards of colour, shards, triangles, whatever you want to call them, they're coming from the top of the mirrors and they're coming from the bottom, and they are touching, they are physically meeting.
Yeah.
You also have shards that are under and overlaid on top of each other. Sometimes you have shards that are hidden behind the bigger ones. Okay. So you can physically see the colour mixing happen in the space. Yeah. So that is acting as a metaphor. It's a meeting point. It is a physical meeting point in the building. It's the main artery that runs through it. And I always think colour is a great analogy for people, because it's something, light and colour is something that we all understand.
Yeah.
No matter what your race, religion, background. Even if you're blind, you understand colour in your own way. And I think it's a really interesting thing to be making work around.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of talked a little bit about the use of mirrors in this installation as well. And that kind of helps add to this immersive, kaleidoscopic kind of effect. So what kind of, testing, experimentation did you have to do with these mirrors to help create this kind of effect? It's not necessarily even on site, but before you even got on site.
The process for this has been long.
Yeah.
And it had to be laborious, and it had to be right because of it being permanent work in the highly prestigious building that it is. The detail in that building is really on point and super high quality. So first of all, it was about getting the print right rather than the mirrors. We knew that the mirrors were going to be ACM, aluminium composite material. Highly reflective. We weren't going to be using acrylic mirrors. The choice for that was because of melting points, health and safety, fire regulations. So that's that. The mirror was kind of decided upon.
Okay.
The corridor also slopes down, so we knew that we wanted equal spaces top and bottom all the way down. So we knew that the piece had to kind of grow as it went down the corridor. The colour and the material that went on the surface of the mirror was the big itch.
Yeah.
And that's what's taken 2 sampling processes to get to. So first of all, the colour is kind of injected into the substrate, which is a vinyl.
Okay.
And the ink is injected into it. That's what makes it more transparent. If the ink sits on the surface, it becomes more pearl or opal. Which is not my work.
Yeah.
My work is about that transparency and vibrancy.
Yeah.
So then it was about finding a printer that did that.
Okay.
Not only a physical printing machine, but a printing outfit that had the equipment to do that. And it's quite an old school technique.
Yeah.
So that was quite hard because a lot of people go, yeah, we can do that. And then you get back the samples and you think, no, you can't do that. And then when we got it right, we did a full-sized sheet, so 3 meters by 1.5 meters panel, which went in a building site.
Yeah.
We did a hard hat visit. We had some sample lights from formalighting that we shone onto it and saw the beautiful reflections on the floor, and instantly everyone knew that was the right material, the right light. So then it was just about scaling it up.
Yeah.
But we had a curveball thrown in in the middle.
What was that?
It was the Grenfell report.
Oh, okay.
So at that point we knew we couldn't use European ACM, which was way cheaper.
Yeah.
We then had to use UK fire rated ACM, which added a lot of cost and a lot of research to the whole process. But of course you have to do it for health and safety.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very important that you get
really important.
So something else that I was kind of intrigued by, obviously every installation, every piece of lighting design, every piece of light art, it's guided in some way by the location that it sits. It's got to be within the context of its location. So how is Double Fizz kind of guided by its context, I guess?
I think it is a capsule space. So the fact that there wasn't any breaks in that corridor really suited me. The fact that there was no windows or doors, there was literally openings both ends.
Yeah.
That gave me an opportunity to go really back to my roots and what I feel that I'm good at, and that is about making a completely immersive space where the visitor is forced through that space if they want to get from A to B.
Yeah.
And that is rare that happens in such a big development anywhere in the world. So that was really nice for me. It forced me into thinking about colorscapes. It forced me into thinking about artworks, light works, architectural lighting that I'm really interested in and wanted to do on a massive scale.
Yeah. Okay.
I could talk for ages about this.
And something that I think is quite interesting, like typically your work makes use of natural light and the way that colour interacts with daylight and sunlight. But in this installation, that's not it's a little bit more dependent on artificial lighting rather than natural lighting because, as you say, it's this closed off tunnel. So how did that kind of alter your approach, if at all?
Like I've said, it made me go back to my beginnings where I was mainly using artificial light.
Okay.
There was works that I made in massive warehouse spaces where I was wrapping light sources with theatre gels, or I was making big ceiling rigs with, I don't know, 250 different colours, again, theatrical sleeves, to try and bend and multiply artificial light. And I felt, say in mid 2010s, I was doing a lot of that. And when I made a piece called Our Colour Reflection, which is the piece where there's hundreds and hundreds of coloured circles that lay on the floor, sometimes a natural light source will hit those mirrors and create reflection, sometimes an artificial light source will hit, depends what the situation is and the space.
Yeah.
But it was that work and then a run of other public commissions that took me down the route of using natural light.
Okay.
But that was quite scary for me.
Okay.
Like really scary. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a whole different light source that you can't control.
Yeah.
Whereas artificial light, you can absolutely control it, which I find incredibly pleasing.
Yeah.
And also you have the guidance of the manufacturers to really help you with that. You can say, I want this effect to be this. What can I use?
Yeah.
So yeah, this piece was going back to that, and I felt in control.
Okay.
Which I enjoy.
Okay, excellent. And kind of speaking of the guidance of the manufacturers, this was kind of partly a collaboration with Formalighting as well. Like they supplied the architectural lighting for this. So how was that collaborative process for you, and how did their fixtures help bring the installation to life?
Well, going back to that sample that we did where there was a piece of mirror with vinyl on it like the one behind us, but it was like 3 times as tall. I knew that I wanted a spotlight. I know from all the work I've done in the past that if you wash it with light or flood it with light, it doesn't have that effect where you are casting pinpoint coloured reflections onto the floor or the ceiling or the surroundings. So I knew it had to be spotlights. But, you know, this has been a process. It's been 2 years, and in the 2 years, you will know, or anyone listening to this will know that there's a lot of starting and stopping throughout that. You don't just concentrate on the one project for 2 years.
Yeah.
That would be intense. So there was definitely conversations about, here's what we think the work's going to look like. 'Cause of course, no one actually knew until it was up.
Yeah.
It was speculation and it was theory. And I have something called hyperphantasia where I can see things really clearly in my mind's eye. I knew exactly what it was going to feel like to walk through that space.
Yeah.
But no one else did. I mean, you can make renders, you can do drawings, but really it's guesswork. So Formalighting and myself kind of got a long history of working together through the Women in Lighting. They have one of my pieces in their collection, so I know of them, work with them. We got wall washers when the piece was first installed, and they were the most beautiful wall washers you've ever seen. And if that was a gallery, it'd be like, yes, please.
Yeah.
This made would make gallery work look so evenly lit and beautiful, but it wasn't right for that piece.
Okay.
So we had to do a bit of a 180 and send them back and bring in spotlights, which was where my instinct was, but I'm not a manufacturer, I'm not an expert in specifying. I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I'm not a lighting designer. I'm an artist, so I don't specify.
Yeah.
So we returned to using spotlights, and as with other works, less is more. So we were taking spotlights out rather adding them in.
Okay.
And the less light, the more colour appeared, which is exactly what we wanted. But even when all the spotlights up, I was, fine tuning, and sometimes with the team, sometimes with electricians, but sometimes just happily on my own. Just
tinkering.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes that might be the fun part of it, like the most fun part, I guess. But,
I love both. I love teamwork and collaboration because
Yeah.
I can't confess to knowing everything in the world. How can you possibly? I love people feeding in, bringing in their knowledge. But then, yes, at some point it's quite nice just to be left alone.
Yeah, I can relate. And together with Formalighting, you guys held a Women in Lighting reception and viewing of the installation a few weeks ago. So how did that go, and how was the response that you got from the lighting community that came out to see it on the day?
It was really special. It's not often that you make a piece of artwork and you have such a nice launch as that. I'm the art world. I've always felt quite privileged to be invited into the lighting world. I felt that 8-9 years ago when this exact magazine interviewed me. It was like, oh, thank you, thank you for allowing me in. I didn't realise, having been in the art world and going to art school, that there was a lighting and architecture design world that would sit so neatly alongside my practice. And I think when I started making monumentally scaled light work, the penny dropped, and I was like, there's a whole industry that would probably appreciate what I do. And that's when I started maybe sending press releases out and getting things back and appreciation back and winning awards. And I think the Women in Lighting event was kind of an addition to that, because I got to invite my art people who, I was going to tell you what, they've never experienced a lighting world event. And 10 years ago when I first started being invited to awards or talks or events, people are really looked after in the lighting world. Lighting people, you do not realise how well looked after you are. The art world is not as generous, and it's quite cutthroat. Even though it's small, as small as the lighting industry. So the Women in Lighting event was really special. It felt nurturing, it felt super positive and a real celebration. You don't often get such an opulent celebration. Nice. Really great conversations, lovely people.
I mean, it sounds like it was a great event, and I was really sad to have missed it, unfortunately. So a couple more questions for you. I know you've created a great deal of installations around, not just around the country, but internationally as well. But how special is it to return to your roots and create something specifically for your home city in Manchester?
It is special when the art consultant got in touch and said, right, permanent Manchester. I was like, yeah. what do you want?
Don't even need to know what it is.
I don't know. No, exactly, because it's always yes. Of course, you want to make work in your hometown. You want to be taken seriously in your hometown. I was born in Manchester. Not that I lived there for very long, but my mum was artist in residence at the Whitworth Art Gallery when she was pregnant with me. So that's why I was born in Manchester. I'm very proud to be Mancunian, and I didn't have to return to Manchester. I could have moved anywhere in the world, but there was something about Manchester that was kind of gritty and cultural and interesting that drew me back in my late 20s. Making work there is a pleasure. There's a spirit of Mancunians that is friendly and endearing, and I have now, well, if you include Salford, which I think we can.
Depends on your viewpoint.
Salford and Manchester, I have now 3 permanent commissions.
Okay, amazing.
In that kind of, let's say, 3-mile radius. Double Fizz being the only indoor piece.
Okay.
So, and then we've got and we always do that. The triangular tunnel in Salford Quays Media City, and then a piece just off Deansgate but across the Irwell in Greengate area. But yeah, I mean, working in Manchester, it is a no-brainer. But equally, I think the opportunity to make new work is interesting for me. Yeah,
sure. Okay, so final question then. Now that the installation has been launched, people can go and see it. How do you look back on it now? Like, are you pleased with the final result? Is there anything that you did differently? Like, how do you view it now?
I mean, it's been a long process, and there's been bits in that process that have not been fun and have been bureaucratic. There's a lot of people involved who all have a very set idea of what they think it should be. So there's conversations to be had, and I think what I've always had to return to is I'm trying to create something joyful here.
Mm.
So it has, at the end result, has to look joyful. So I have to put aside the ups and downs and the roller coaster journey that you go on. And actually, when you see that work, you don't see any of the health and safety problems or the back and forth. I walk into that and I feel satisfied. I feel happy. I couldn't have made it any better.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done anything more, both in terms of the space, the shape, the finish, the lighting. There is nothing more I could do.
Yeah.
I can walk away from that feeling happy. I want to return to it with people and show them it in a proud way.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. And you know, if anyone finds himself in Manchester and wants to check it out, where can they find it?
They go to number 1 St Michael's, which is near the main square, near the town hall in Manchester. It is a new development that's got Channel 4 based in it. There's coffee shops, there's nice restaurants on the rooftop. Jackson's Road, Manchester.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, if you're ever in Manchester, check it out, because it's it's an amazing installation, and it's beautiful to walk through, and yeah, incredibly well done on a great piece of work.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.